What's up, people? This is Dustin Coyle. And since this is Saturday, April, let's say 15th, you probably are guessing that this is the NBA Weekly playoff preview. And you'd be goddamn right. So, with no further ado, let's start this shit. All right, where are we going to start here? Let's just start with some more of the more recent news, I guess, from the last week here. First and foremost, probably the most important thing to talk about in the entire year, maybe or maybe not, Russell Westbrook finishes averaging a triple-double. Let's take a look at exactly what it was, but with 42 triple-doubles, one more than Oscar Robertson had in 1961-62. Obviously breaks the record there. Let's take a look and find what his actual statistics were at the end of the year here. He officially averages 31.6 per game, 10.7 rebounds, 10.4 assists, 1.6 steals, shoots 42.5, 34.3 from downtown. That's his best of his career, 84.5 from the line. Great fucking... and it actually would have been more. He only had 5 and 8 in his final game. Game before that, he had 50, 16, and 10. So, can go one way or the other for Mr. Westbrook. Usually just one way. But fantastic fucking year for him. He's going to be probably the MVP. Not my pick. We'll talk about it later. Shouldn't have fucking previewed that way, but we'll talk about it later. But he'll most likely win the MVP. It is a little closer than I had thought it would be from when I'm listening to people like the NBA, the people who actually have a vote. But beast of a fucking season for Russ. Congratulations. His team in the playoffs. And we're actually going to get basically the dream matchup we've all been looking for, I think, as far as the playoffs are concerned. In the West with that specifically, I mean, OKC versus Houston, first round playoff series. Harden versus Russell Westbrook. That's going to be fucking awesome. All right. How about comes down to the final game of the season in the East. 2 spots up for grabs. Three teams trying to win them. All with the same record. Pacers, Bulls, and Heat all win. But because of tiebreakers, Pacers and Bulls are in. Pacers the 7th seed. Yes, Pacers the 7th seed. Bulls the 8th seed. Unfortunately for the Heat, one game too few. It's crazy. I can't even remember who I was listening to the other day, but over 41 games, half of the season, they had 30 victories. So they literally were on pace to be a 60-win team. One win, I believe, less than, or 2 wins less than San Antonio. 1. Incredible. The Miami Heat, if they would have had Dion Waiters, they would be in the playoffs. And they would have had more than 30 wins in their final 41. Obviously, they only had 30 losses in their first 41, so you counterbalance those two things together. But a great coaching year, a great by Eric Spoelstra, excuse me. Goran Dragic looked fantastic. Dion Waiters obviously came back to be the player that looked like, somewhat pretty close to the potential that anybody had thought he had, 5 years ago or whatever it is now. Obviously, Hassan Whiteside is, forging his way into some sort of being one of the most dominant centers in the game. And they have a lot of other good players, floating around as well. But not enough this year. They're the 9th seed. They are out. And how about the West? Nugs out, Blazers in. The Blazers and the Nugs. How ironic. How ironic for Denver and fucking Portland as well. Isn't that all funny? Blazers, I think, win 15 of their last 20 games. Get really hot. They're in. I think they finished 2 games or 1 game ahead of Denver, who was playing pretty damn well. They had a 3-game lead 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And then just maybe went a little more, they didn't have a winning record anyway, so I think they probably just played about the same record that they were playing while Portland got really hot. So Portland actually finishes 41-41. And I mean, they were 7 or 8 games under 500. They were 10 games under 500, a month ago. So good little pullback there for them. Congratulations to Terry Stotts, Dame Dash, and the motherfucking Portland Trailblazers, and my buddy Matt. The C's. Isaiah Thomas and the Celtics. They finished number 1, 2 games ahead of both Cleveland and Toronto. They pull off, I guess, what, nobody really saw this happening at the beginning of the season. The Cavs go 23-23 over their last 46 games there. So basically the second half of the season, they were a 500 team. And they had a losing record after the All-Star break, a losing record in January, a losing record in March. Hopefully they can turn it on. I think they can turn it on. We're going to talk about it in a little bit in the playoff preview section. And we'll talk about them, obviously, in the top 10 as well here. Let's see. Where else are we at? Last game of the season as well. Clippers win. They go to number 4. Jazz win as well, but the Clips hold the tiebreaker 3-1. Clips are number 4. Jazz are number 5. Clippers win in 10 of their last 12 games, looking really good right now. They have an incredible record with Chris Paul. I can't remember what it is, but they would be fighting for the number 1 seed if Chris Paul played every game. So that's something that's interesting to think about. Don't have a lot of fucking playmakers, though, other than off the bench, which is strange. Maybe that helps them, maybe that hurts. I mean, it definitely hurts them, but maybe it helps them that they do have them off the bench so that they can play. But, I mean, they play the same position as Chris Paul, too, so it's sort of a weird predicament there for the Clips. I would like to see them on some long odds, maybe championship, but it's tough to predict here. Anyway, so they'll be playing in the first round. Obviously, Clippers are going to have home court advantage. Clippers are a slight favorite, one of the closest series. I think that and the Wizards. We'll talk about it. But cool. I mean, that's what we're going to get. It's going to be a good matchup. 2 dominant centers, especially defensively. 2 great defensive centers, DeAndre and Rudy Gobert, are going to be going against each other. That'll be awesome. Maybe Chris Paul versus George Hill might be a good matchup. So it'll be interesting to see what's up. And how about the Orlando Magic? They dismissed their GM, Rob Hennigan. Assistant GM, Matt Lloyd, is going to be the interim. In, I think, 5 years under Hennigan, they went 132, and 278. No playoff appearances in the 5 years. Traded some pieces last year for Serge Ibaka, and then, halfway through the season, traded Serge Ibaka for some more random pieces and stuff like that. Obviously, not a good overall, not a great showing for Rob Hennigan. It's always unfortunate when people get fired and things like that. But I don't blame the Magic entirely, so I will see how that plays out going forward. And how about the Knicks pick up a 2-year option of President Phil Jackson? They agree to some terms for the 2-year option. He's going to be coming back as the president again. I don't know if that's good or bad. I would probably say it's not a horrible idea. It depends what happens with the Carmelo situation. And I was just reading today that Phil Jackson said maybe Carmelo would be better off somewhere else. Porzingis is confused as fuck. He doesn't understand he didn't even show up to his exit meetings today or yesterday. Carmelo's talking like it's a pretty serious. I think that it's probably more likely than not at this point that Carmelo's going to play somewhere else next season. That's probably. I couple that with the thought here that the Knicks are going to go ahead and pick up the option on Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson and Carmelo not in love. And so, I think that they're probably going to go the Phil Jackson Porzingis route rather than continue to be a Carmelo led team, I guess you'd say. All right. How about the NBA breaks the attendance record for the 3rd straight season as far as attendance in the arenas. I can sense its popularity coming back pretty heavily, probably due to the offensive changes that happened at the end of the Jordan era, or at least I guess the defensive changes that happened at the end of the Jordan era, and the improvement of the three-point shooting, small ball, that sort of a situation. Each team has players that can put up 30 pretty much, not every team, I guess, but Actually, every team has a player that can put up 30, and not be terribly surprised by it. A lot of interesting, fun teams to watch. Even at the lower, like Portland is one of the most interesting teams to watch. They're an 8 seed. You know what I mean? Denver's an interesting team to watch. They're a 9 seed. You know what I mean? Even the Knicks on the outside of the playoffs. I like watching the Knicks. You know what I'm saying? They have it's fun. It's fun at least. But no surprise there. I'd expect that trend to pretty much continue. I think that they're breaking their TV records as well. A lot more. They're on obviously a lot more than they've ever been in the past. NBA TV, ESPN, ABC, Saturday nights. They're on Saturday night primetime ABC. So the NBA is doing quite a bit as far as all that. And they're doing a lot with social media and everything to kind of reach out and grow their brand that way. Really using their stars on social media, commercials and things like that. More so even than the NFL, really showing their faces and getting fans that are interested in certain players and stuff like that. Alrighty. Giannis, the Greek freak, man, Giannis Antetokounmpo, finishes in the top 20, the first player of all time to finish in the top 20 in all of the 5 major statistical categories: points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. The first player of all time to finish in the top 20 in the NBA in all of those. And the 5th player ever to lead his team in all of those. Fantastic year for Giannis. Congratulations. He has led his team to the number 6 spot in the East. And looking like they can make a possible playoff run. Doing fantastic shit. He is, one of the major reasons Malcolm Brogdon has matured so well this season. Chris Middleton back, you could only think if they had Jabari Parker, what kind of team that would be. Not this season, though, but they're young, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the playoffs. And speaking of the only players to ever do shit, how about Karl Anthony Towns? Is he a second-year player as well? I think he is. He's 21 years old. The 15th player ever to record 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds in a season. The first since Tim Duncan in 01-02. So what's that? 15 years. The first in 15 years to record 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds in a season. And out of all of those players that have ever done that, he's the only one of them to have made 100 three-pointers in the same season. Incredible for the 21-year-old. The future on this has to be the highest of any prospect in the NBA. Karl Anthony Towns has to be the most likely player to become the most dominant player in the NBA. This is ridiculous. Those numbers are truly ridiculous. The thing that they lose, which is unfortunate, which is also crazy considering Wiggins is there and he's putting up fucking 20-something a game. But the amount they lose is completely ridiculous. They must be in the playoffs next year. They absolutely must. With that talent level, they're more talented than Oklahoma City. Well, maybe not Oklahoma City. Pretty close to, well, probably actually because of how fucking good he is. But, they need to be in the playoffs. They're probably more talented than the Blazers. It kind of depends, though, what Nurkic looks like when he comes back and what type of who comes back for Portland. But they need to be there. The West, I guess, is pretty fucking stacked now that I'm really thinking about it. But yeah, definitely a beast of a season, a beast of a player there for Cat. Congrats. All right. Are we at this point now? Hold up. All right, we're actually at the Players of the Month for the month of April. Excuse me. For the Eastern Conference, we have Paul George, averaging an NBA high 32.8 per game, 8.2 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Indiana goes 5-1 in April. They'll be back in the playoffs for the 6th time in 7 seasons, I do believe. They're the number 7 seed. Great couple of weeks, and even before that, couple of weeks for Paul George. Scored at least 40, or at least 30, in 4 of the 6 games. Damn, only 26 years old. Paul George, only 26. How weird is that? And then they'll be matched up with